would probably not do. All right. Good morning, everyone. Where are we? February 28th, Aether TST. Let me go ahead and share my screen. I think this will do it. You see the notes?
I do.
All right. So let's get started and work our way through the agenda. I saw an email from Sean, but I thought we would spend whatever time we need on where things stand with the Onos config debugging issues. Scott, you want to talk about what you've been typing in there?
Sure. So the good news is that there's a high likelihood that we're going to have a dedicated full-time developer to work on Onos config and atomics issues. I can't, give you the details on when or who yet because it sort of hasn't been finalized yet. I suppose I could tell you that it's an expert in atomics, so this would be well covered if this goes through. So there's a likelihood that we will finally be able to start putting resources toward this. We would have the go-ahead to leverage the validation and testing that ONF is doing, and to work with collaboration is necessary to make sure that we pass those tests and to use those tests as kind of a motivator for our scalability concerns. So I think good news all around on the resourcing to be able to work on Onos config and the sort of desire to increase the stability and scalability to the point where it is, a production quality component.
Okay, excellent. So from your recollection, it's related to the second point, Scott. How much scalability testing of Onos config did we have in the Aether test suite? I don't remember that being a particular item.
No, so I was mostly referring to the stuff that Khajiit is doing that
All right.
has been brought up. Yeah. Let me am I spelling Khajiit right?
I believe
yes,
so.
thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just know from previous calls that their tests have been, exposing rough edges in atomics and Onos config. Scalability problems have been run into. So, you guys are the ones who have, sort of some real world concerns, criteria, hard numbers on what you expect it to be able to do, tests that actually show where it breaks. So if we can leverage what that you've been demonstrating things breaking, if we can take that and leverage that and use that as our motivator to fix those things, that's what I was thinking.
Great. And that'll be quite, I think, related to this next point. So sounds like good news. We'll wait anxiously to hear it's official. Is there any other things to say?
Yes, so it looks like good news, but we are facing a lot of issues with the latest atomics also, and we have filed another issue today. But we are looking for some timelines, like we are hitting this issue one by one. We don't see any estimated time and arrival, or something needs to be done, right?
Yeah. So all right. So GS Labs is seeing the same. So this will you will have equal motivation to help flush out the QA to make sure we get these things tested, and then hopefully we get the fixes from Intel.
Yeah.
So have you been following it's scalability is a very round word. Is it the same issue? Do you know?
Sorry, what?
Are you seeing the same issue Khajiit is, or have you made that pretty direct?
Yes. We have used the latest AIB, and that's where we also hit the similar issues.
Okay.
It's not.
Right, so we've
It's
been
not
over that.
related to the Kajit setup. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been over the I don't know, root cause of that before. So that's not spending time there,
Yeah,
but it's
I'm not sure. I'm not looking for any root cause. We need some help. Like there are some things are going on. We are just asking question whether we are doing the right configuration. Maybe it's a configuration issue, but we are not seeing any response on the email or the issues we have reported on the GitHub. And that's a very concern area for Kajit. And
okay. So great. So it's not clear who's paying attention to what.
Yeah.
As Scott's typing here, it's been in the TST calls that we've been able to finally get over the hump of connecting Kajit problems to Intel solutions. So to oversimplify it. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I don't know,
I mean,
on that general issue, I don't know, Scott, maybe we just need to wait until we have this finalized, but is there, what should we start worrying about in terms of processes? So I guess you're the one that said Jira tickets and email.
Yeah, where are the Jira tickets created? Is that in an ONF Jira?
I think that's a question for Matt.
no. We have filed on the GitHub the ONOS config repository.
Oh, so it's,
Yeah, I'm not sure
File
anyone's.
is on Jira,
Yeah, I'm not quite sure people
because we
are
don't have
looking at-
access to Jira yet.
GitHub tickets. Yeah, that was me. I mistyped there. So yeah, I don't know that we probably haven't been watching for GitHub tickets to show up in the GitHub repo. I mean, we are very Jira focused. So like I say, we haven't been paying attention there. It's probably flew by without people noticing. But I can let people know to start paying attention.
All right, and this is huge. I mean, this is the biggest thing that we can do is make sure that people seeing problems are reported to the place people looking for problems are watching.
Yeah, and GitHub might be the right place to do that. Like I say, you know, you can't put things on our Jira, you know, it's internal Jira only. So we'll have to have some alternative, and that could be GitHub.
yeah, I just want to point out that, I mean, I think the message is getting through to the right channels. But you know, there is a problem with resources at the present time, and there has been for a long time. And you know, I mean, Scott has said it there that there are more resources going to be dedicated to solving these problems. And I think really you just it's on a best effort. There's nobody inside Intel prompting us to fix Kajit problems. I mean, I think, you know, there has to be a realization there that we are Intel, and, you know, we have responsibilities and needs of our own. And I think as we get more and more resources, when the two problems align, like say for instance the issue you showed today, you know, where you're seeing honest consensus store crashing, that's a problem that it's in both of our interests to fix, and we will fix it as soon as we can. But at the same time, you know, it's not on any one of our personal goals to explicitly get out there and fix these issues for Kajit. And you know, I just want you to realize where the disconnect is there, and you know, between opening an issue on GitHub and getting something resolved.
Yeah, thank you, Sean, just for that reminder. It's it sounds promising that we will have significant alignment, but it's not always going to be perfect alignment.
Yeah, I think, we could not fix issues that are, use case specific, but to the extent there's general issues that, affect your use case and ours, and I'm assuming that's got to be like 80% of what's going on. I think that would fall under our umbrella. And, like I said, we can utilize your validation resources to help out, to the extent that you are testing the same things that we need to test. So there's room for both of us to sort of make use of the other.
And I think, when we are fixing problems, we will try to like institutionalize the scenarios that cause those problems. For instance, you, Amit, I think, are using and testing onus config with persistent volumes.
Yes.
And as far as I'm aware, that's not something that we have really tested in our integration tests. I don't know why, but it's for that reason, you are hitting a lot of these problems for the first time. And what I want is for us to, when it becomes a priority in Intel and people are assigned to it, to make those tests, always use persistent volumes, because that's what, customer deployments are going to look like. And we should be adding a lot more integration tests to deal with that. So I think, your testing and the scenarios you're bringing up are welcome. And, I think, keep knocking on the door, and we will eventually, get around to all of these issues, because it is in our interest to do it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks. And I think this kind of, well, let me just kind of branch, bleed into the second major bullet here, which is GS Labs is now, as of first of the week, coming online under contract with ONF to build out QA capabilities for Aether. I think, that's a part of this larger picture. And it's not, I can't speak for Timon, who's not here, but obviously there will be adjustments to the statement of work with GS Labs as we figure out where the holes are. So it's possible that we would find a gap that we would fill in that way. I'm just speculating there. I wanted to see if there was any news on how that, coming online is going. I didn't see DAF online earlier. Are you there now? No. So Amit, do you have any information on how that's going?
Yeah. So our team is basically going through the onboarding documents and getting familiar with the AIB, the QA team. So that's the current state, and we are waiting on the email stuff and the resourcing stuff. I think the email IDs we need to be created, right? We get access to.
Right. So I mean, for everyone else's benefit, part of what's going on right now, which is where I was hoping DAP would be here, was just, getting the GS Labs team, which has been, that initial team has been defined, getting them access to everything they need access to. And I don't want to speak again to the details of exactly what's covered, because I don't know them, but the general intent is that GS Labs helps ONF build out QA capabilities for a sequence of blueprints, starting with Aether in a box, but proceeding beyond that. So it would seem quite natural that scalability be part of that. Because at one end of the blueprint will be a more scalable system. That might not be where things start, but that will certainly be, I would certainly be in scope, I would think.
That would be great. Yeah, I'd appreciate. I definitely appreciate seeing that. And those tests will be on the existing ONF infrastructure, such as like Jenkins and all of those kind of things?
So it will be publicly available. I can't say the details. There are different pods being built. There'll be pods built within GS Labs. But the umbrella for all of that in terms of Jenkins will be the ONF Jenkins.
Yeah, good.
I don't know that there's, I mean, again, we're now in day 2 of this coming online, so there may not be a lot to say here, but just FYI that this is spinning up. Anything else to say on that point? Anyone else have input? Okay, let me go to the third point, the third top level point, which is also related, which is, what is it exactly we're testing? And I got this notion that there's a sequence of blueprints, each, starting in a VM and then, Ether in a box and ramping up to more realistic deployments. And that is the goal of on-ramp. On-ramp does not necessarily have to be the system being tested. And so that's kind of the question here that's still unanswered, which is, Ether in a box is there now. Today, Ether on-ramp is just an overlay on Ether in a box. It's just rearranging the deck chairs a little bit. It doesn't, except maybe a little bit in a GitOps direction, really go beyond Ether in a box, but its intent is that it eventually will. So I just wanted to raise the high-level question of, how do we go about ramping up a set of blueprints? Do we continue to add capability to Ether in a box? Do we freeze Ether in a box and start doing that in the on-ramp setting? If we were to do that, do we have to have parity with Ether in a box? Are there things in Ether in a box that we wouldn't need to pull forward? And independent of that question, just simply, what are the stages of deployment that we want to support? I mean, we've established that something scalable would be certainly in scope. I don't know if anyone has opinions on this yet, but I wanted to see if there was any general thought on this. Lots of silence. Well, so, I mean, from the Intel folks, Ether in a box, I mean, Andy is on, I saw it. It is not in and of itself a priority for Intel. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, that's a fair statement.
I mean, part of what OnRep was about was trying to bring the know-how of Ether in a box in-house a little bit into ONF, back into ONF, where it originated. So that it might naturally be something that we then ended up ramping, pardon the pun, ramping up on and stop investing in Ether in a box. On the other hand, there is a user community out there currently using Ether in a box. The thing that I noticed most recently is the student who has set up multiple emulated, a fairly sophisticated RAN. He's using a different RAN emulator. He's got multiple slices. He spread things across multiple VMs. So it goes beyond where Ether in a box is, but that's where he started. I don't know if, are you guys familiar with what I'm talking about? Let's see if I can find well, I don't know how to do this when I'm in the middle of recording here, but I know. There is a ONF community. Yeah, his name is Diego Barros.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of that, and my impression is that, yeah, he's extending Ether in a box in some pretty useful ways, and I think he's shared at least some of the details of what he's done on in the Slack channel, but I haven't really tried to look at what he's done in detail or think about how we could somehow, incorporate that into Ether in a box or Ether on ramp.
So, yeah, so how do I share a link if I'm recording? This is really suboptimal. And sharing. So yeah, he's using UE RAN Sim, which is an open source RAN simulator. He's got the ROC. He's got the UPF in a separate VM. He's got the ROC in a different VM. He's set up multiple slices. Yeah, here's the I believe this is the GitHub site that I met. Yeah, Air in a Box use UE RAN Sim is the
And is this a fork or this is a separate repo that just makes, I mean, there's an AIAB directory, so maybe he just copied in.
That's what I suspect he did. I suspect he
Yeah.
copied it in and he's now set this thing up. Yeah.
I think
But as you
that
can see, I'm sorry, go ahead.
if you look in that directory, the AIAB directory, it's not a fork, it's just got a couple of values files in there. So I think it's maybe whatever changes he made to the
Right.
AIAB values, he just stashed them in there.
So I just raised this as an example of someone that has pushed ahead with Ether in a Box in a way that OnRamp aspired to do. So, I mean, it would be, there's a risk of forking in too many different directions here. So I'm not quite sure how to reconcile all of that, but yeah, there definitely looks like there's some good stuff here.
Yeah, it'd just be nice if there was a way for you to pull it back in rather than it being kind of its separate thing. And as soon as, Ether in a Box evolves, this breaks and doesn't work and
Exactly.
that sort of thing.
Yeah, Scott. So you put your finger on what's concerning to me as to what we've got some things going on in parallel. How do we coalesce around a sequence of configurations that we then can build QA for? And I guess building QA for it is maybe the way that we pull people towards a common core, because it's the only thing that someone's vouched for in terms of testing. Let me make that note because I think it's actually important. It's a chicken and egg thing. All right, so I don't expect any answers today, but I think it's something that if you have thoughts on, let me know. And it's again back related also to what we're, well, it's certainly related to what Kajit is interested in seeing, because that we definitely want that far end of Ether in a Box that it grew out of the box and became a standalone deployment, but there will be points in between as well. Is there any more to see on this right now? Let me get this example in here if I can find it again. Well, I'll add the GitHub site that we just had. I go back and find it.
Yeah, I mean, if someone created a document, on how to integrate with or how to evolve Ether in a Box, and had some recommended best practice, about forking, where to contribute your code, and then, when to PR it back. Maybe that would provide someone like this student some guidance on doing something in a way that's easy to come back to us.
Yeah, good point. Denise, we should probably reach out to him and see if we can get a talk at the users forum.
Okay.
Just FYI, the documentation I'm building, it may outgrow this place, but I'm starting to grow it on the end of the private 5G book. And so this is my on-ramp documentation at the moment. That doesn't talk about how to fold your results back in, but it actually makes sense that it would, if it's trying to encourage people to do work on it. All right. Is there anything else here? I like these nice half-hour meetings. Schedule an hour, get it done in 30 minutes. All right, I think unless there are any objections, we can call it a day. I won't be here next week, but someone can take ownership of the call. All right, thanks everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye all.